Today, it is time to do another video comparing 5 levels of a guitar model. And today is one of my favorites. We are doing Les Paul Juniors. Let's dig in. I love Gibson guitars, and one of my absolute favorite models or subset of models that they make is their Junior line. I've been playing a lot of Juniors and Specials for a really long time, so these guitars are right up my alley. In this video, we're going to be looking at 5 different ones, mostly at 5 different price points. The first 2 are pretty close, but otherwise all at different price points, and then kind of getting into who each one of these is for. We're going to plug all these guitars in, see how they sound, see how they play. I'm going to share my thoughts, have some fun, so let's get into it. First guitar, and this is the first time that we've done this in this series, but this is actually not a Gibson, this is an Orville. Not an Orville by Gibson, but just one of the regular Orville guitars. For those of you unfamiliar with Orville, for a very short period of time, they actually made some guitars over in Japan as part of their Orville by Gibson line, or just regular Orville. Orville line was kind of the base model, and the Orville by Gibson are the higher tier ones that have a lacquer finish and USA electronics. So this will have a poly finish and then Japanese electronics. If you want to learn more about those, we did a whole video about Orville guitars. It's one of my favorite videos we've ever done, so you can go check that out somewhere. The market price of something like this is gonna be anywhere from like $1,000 to $1,500, so pretty big range there depending on color and condition, originality, all that good stuff. The original retail price for this guitar back in 1996 was 65,000 yen. At the time, that converted to roughly 620 US dollars. And then if you convert 620 US dollars in 1996 to 2025, you get 1297. So this is gonna be a little bit less than like a modern original collection would be new, but more than like a Epiphone Les Paul Junior, which puts it right in line with its current market value. The next guitar we're going to talk about today is this 2019 Gibson Les Paul Junior Tribute. This is kind of an odd line that they did back in 2019 to 2020, obviously taking some liberties from the traditional Junior format. Nonetheless, it's a Junior. The current market value of these is actually pretty similar to the Orville, probably around $1,000 to $1,200. These ones haven't become the most collectible yet, probably mostly just because the specs are not super traditional on these, but they had quite a few colors and some people love them. I will say this guitar and the Orville definitely have the closest market value of everything, kind of right there together, and I would say even like a cool color Orville in cleaner condition would probably go for more than one of these. Here we have one of the newer Gibson Original Collection Juniors. This is basically Gibson's standard production 50s reissue Junior. You get a bit fatter neck on this one. Current market value on these for a used one in great shape is around $1,400. Retail is $1,600 for these new. You can buy them new, you can buy them used. Not a rare guitar by any means, and this is kind of just your standard Junior. For the next step up price-wise, we are going slightly vintage, but not all the way back to the 50s and 60s. This is a 1986 Les Paul Junior model. This is one where you will get the 2-pneumatic bridge, so you get the bridge and tail piece. So you can dial the intonation on this much better than you can with just a standard wrap tail. This is definitely not a fully vintage correct Junior, but a lot of people, myself included, enjoy these specs for what they are. Market value of these right now floats around $2,000. A really clean one can definitely go for more. So definitely a little bit of premium from being vintage, but nothing too crazy. The last guitar we're gonna look at today is actually not a shop guitar. This is from my personal collection. This is a Gibson Custom Shop Historic 57 reissue Junior. This was originally cherry and it's aged quite a bit, which is pretty cool. This was a guitar that actually almost got away. In November 2023, I found this guitar at a shop in Japan and I sat with it a bunch and I was like, man, I really should buy that guitar, I really like it. I ended up passing on it because they couldn't find the COA for it. They weren't willing to do like any sort of discount because of that. But I ended up passing, which is a bummer because I really like the guitar. So about 8 months later, I went back in summer 2024 and they just so happened to still have the Junior and they actually dropped the price a little bit. So I ended up picking it up. Now it's not going anywhere. So I'm really glad that I didn't miss out on this one. It's crazy that they still had it. If you're buying new, the starting point for a custom shop Les Paul Junior is currently $4,000. Used, something like this, you can find between $3,000 and $3,500. Definitely a good step up in price from the last one we looked at. Let's see what all these sound like. If you are into older Japanese guitars, this is definitely worth checking out. Obviously, this is not a Gibson. It is an Orville branded guitar, so a little different there. And this has the poly finish. So I wouldn't put this in the same echelon as some of the other guitars on this list, but very strong value for money. I do want to give an honorable mention to another guitar that we're actually not showing in this video from the Orville line. But right now, we currently have a Orville by Gibson Les Paul Junior double cut in TV yellow. That is very, very sick. That one, like I said, is from the Orville by Gibson, like higher tier guitar. So it goes for considerably more than this, and actually considerably more than a lot of the Gibsons in this video. So that's why it didn't really make sense to include it here. But that one does have the lacquer finish as well as the USA Gibson electronics. I do like that one better than this one, but it also costs like twice as much. So your personal preference between those two may vary. I say value-wise, it's all here, but if you're down to spend a little more, I'd maybe move into something else on this list. I will say though, if you are dead set on having a double cut, this is one of the best ways to get one, as finding a proper Gibson that looks like this is hard to find, and we'll kind of get more into that on this next guitar. So here's the other double cut, and as I said before, very much not traditional. This does not look like a vintage Les Paul Junior or just any typical Les Paul Junior you'd usually picture, but still a very solid guitar. This one does have the satin finish rather than a gloss finish, which I do enjoy on a lot of guitars. This, to be honest, is not my favorite of those. I really enjoy the specials that Gibson was making with this finish in the early 2000s. Definitely a little heavier than the last one we looked at. To be honest, for me, I don't love the aesthetics on this either. I'd rather something a bit more traditional. If you like the aesthetics of this and you're into the guitars that have the more satin finish and you want something that maybe sounds a little darker, definitely worth checking out. But if you're into the more vintage style stuff, it's not my favorite. I do want to give a couple pros to this guitar, as it is very solid. This stays in tune very well. Fretwork is great on this, so this does play really well, and it does give you a lot back. Very resonant guitar, so definitely not all bad. I just know from my personal taste, this is kind of not what I would gravitate towards. I'd say this is a very giggable guitar. It'll stay in tune well. It's not super expensive, so it's not super big liability, but I kind of see why they discontinued this one and why they're currently onto other things. Moving up into the current production Gibson Original Collection Junior, this definitely feels like a decent step up from the last few that we looked at. It stays in tune well, intonation is solid here, so love that. And the fit and finish on this is great. This is a lot more in line with what you'd expect for a vintage Junior. They call this a 50s profile neck. I would say it's definitely on the slimmer end for 50s, but definitely still fatter than the last two guitars that we looked at. I would say this is when these start sounding really great. This one, the more you dig in, the more you get out of this pickup. Maybe it doesn't sound as full as the next two we're gonna look at, but I like this one because it very much gives you what you put into it. If you play light, it's gonna sound like that. If you really dig into this one, it's a lot more chunky. This is a good Junior. This is kind of what they're all about. This one definitely gets a solid recommendation from me, and I'll say that every Original Collection Junior we've had has been good, so I like what they're doing right now. Moving into the 1986, a guitar most people would consider vintage. This is where things, I think, really start to change. As soon as I plugged this one in and got my hands on it, I was like, yep, that feels right at home for me. I love this era of Junior, which will kind of go all the way from the mid 80s into the mid to late 90s. This is kind of just post Norlin era, and I really like it. Like I said, not totally vintage correct, as this has the stop bar and tunematic bridge, so you can really get the intonation perfect on this. This pickup is extremely hot on this guitar. This sounds awesome. This really drives your amp, so I enjoy that. But once again, if you back off, you can definitely get this to sound pretty dynamic. I'd say this guitar is probably less dynamic than most of the other ones on this list. Neck profile wise, it's definitely a little bit thinner than the Original Collection, but not by too much. This kind of feels like it's in that good sweet spot. Feels right at home for me. This is solid, and I would say I like this even more than the last guitar. These are really, really great. I'm a bit biased as I do have quite a few guitars from this time period, and I really enjoy all of them, but this one fits right in with those, and it's a good one. On to the last one, which is my personal guitar. This is my personal guitar for good reason. I really enjoy it. The neck is by far the thickest on this guitar. This is, like I said, it's a 57 reissue, so that's to be expected. The neck on the Original Collection one, like I said, is 50s by Gibson's definition, but that one's definitely more 59, whereas this is proper 57, 58, like big baseball bat neck. And that's usually not my personal taste, but there's just something about this guitar that makes me still really enjoy it. Getting into this one, really compared to everything else on the list, the fit and finish really steps up on this. I love how this one has aged over time, obviously quite light on the front. There's still quite a bit of cherry on the back, and if you take the pick guard off on this, it's totally cherry under there. It's definitely aging like you would expect for a vintage guitar, even though it's not a vintage guitar, it is a reissue. This is more than twice as much as you would pay for the Original Collection Junior, and these are definitely doing similar things. Whether that's worth it to you or not, I don't know. That kind of comes down to personal preference. If fit and finish is really important to you. I would say in general, the Gibson Custom Shop stuff feels like it's in a class of its own. I also think sound-wise, this definitely sounds the best to my ear of all of them. You could make an argument this one might sound a little more compressed compared to the original collection Junior. This one still is very dynamic, but just right out the gate, this is a very full sounding Junior, which is what I look for. This is solid, and once again, I'm gonna be a bit biased because my guitar, this definitely fits what I would personally be looking for. I would love to have something like this though that doesn't have this thick baseball neck. I could totally have this with a 60s neck profile and be quite happy. These are really hard to rank, as just to be honest, the last three that we looked at, I really all enjoy in their own ways, and they all are a good bit different. Not a surprise, but this one is my favorite. I don't think this is the best value. I don't think that value-wise this is like the #1 pick. I think that kind of stuff out the window. I definitely think that the Custom Shop, not just this one, but really any of the ones I've played, are Gibson's best that they're offering today, and for good reason. I do also want to give a quick shout to the 86, as this is really, really comfortable. Definitely different specs in the Custom Shop, and in some ways I like this just as much. My ranking would actually be pretty close between the two of these. If I want vintage correct, obviously the Custom Shop is much better there, but as far as a straight ahead Junior and gigging guitar, I'd actually probably take this one. Sound wise, I still prefer the Custom Shop, but playability and tuning stability and all that, this actually might be the winner. Maybe I would take this one in a live environment and the Custom Shop in a studio environment. I wouldn't be able to conclude without talking about this one one more time. That is the original collection guitar. I think that this one is the best value of everything on this list. This to me feels like the equilibrium of, you know, getting a really, really great guitar for the money you're putting into it. Whether you're looking for something for the studio, whether you're looking for something to gig with, I think that this guitar kind of does it all and does it all very well. This has a ton of personality. I know that this is also going to age quite well over the years. Maybe the fit and finish isn't at the level of the Custom Shop guitar with this, but functionality wise, man, this is all the Junior. I would say if you're maybe a younger player or just getting into guitar and you're trying to kind of save up for your first like really serious guitar, this is worth saving up for. This is kind of, I would say, the benchmark that I would compare everything else to. This is the kind of standard Junior for a reason. While, you know, around 1,400 U's is not cheap by any means, it's definitely attainable, and it's definitely something that I think most people, given enough time and resources, you could probably get it together, get into this, and I think it would treat you very well for many years to come. Once you get beyond this, law of diminishing return really starts to come into effect. I can't tell you that the Custom Shop is twice as good as this, but it's great in its own ways as well. I hope you guys had fun going through all these Juniors with us. I know I personally really enjoyed making this video, and within the realm of this series, this is probably my favorite one that we've ever done. Let me know down below in the comments which one of these is your favorite. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. And if you have a Junior, please let us know down below what you got. We are always curious to read your guys' stories. If you enjoyed this video, we'd love if you took the time to check out some of the other videos we made in this series. We do one on SGs, we do one on Les Pauls, and also some stuff in the Fender realm, such as Telecasters and Stratocasters, so go check those out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and all that good stuff, and we will see you in another video soon. Bye.